The date is May 4th, 2022. The time is 6:47 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Present in the room is myself, Dot Maggio, Stan Noga, Bruce Mello, Road Supervisor, Mark Bills, and cameraman from Pac TV, Josh. What's your last name?
Morelli.
Morelli. Okay. At this time, we're going to take a look at review changes to the agenda, if any.
Hi, this is I'm here too, Mark Kirk. I was told to join at 6:40.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. I just looked at you and we also have Mark Kirk from Cott Industries here as a member of the scheduled member of the public. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I didn't want you to forget me. Should I go away for about 15 minutes or what?
No.
We can we'll change the order of the agenda to make it convenient for you. We'll do the minutes later. Okay.
I don't care.
All right, changes to the agenda, if any. I'm going to move item 3, reviewing the previous minutes from April 20th, April 18th, and April 25th until after members of the public. I am also going to ask to add an executive session at the very end of the meeting before adjournment, because there is a need to evaluate and discuss recent concerns with the position of the treasurer for the town. A motion may be made at this time, to go into executive session later during the meeting. The executive session can be held under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A(3) of the Vermont statutes. No votes will be conducted while in executive session. Is there any other changes to the agenda that anyone would like to have made? I would like to add, a discussion about the homestead rebate penalties for taxpayers. I got a call from Liberty Tax Center and they had a question. So I will put that under my select board chair report, and that is a tax question. So I'm going to add that. Any other changes besides moving the minutes, the tax question, and having an executive session? Any other changes? Hearing none, we shall move on to scheduled members of the public. Scheduled is Mr. Mark R. Kirk of the Cott system. He's here to talk about the consideration to purchase a program that would help us with land records. So, Mr. Kirk, you'll have to speak up because we only have the microphone on the computer helping us out today. But you want to explain to us and then also to those viewers who watch this on TV about the program that you sell and that guy suggested we use ARPA funds for. Thank you.
Sure. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I can give you my 1-minute spiel. I can give you my 3-5-minute spiel. I can talk for half an hour if you want. So I'll start off and just give you a little bit of background, and then you can ask me whatever questions that you have. I was there to visit your town yesterday. I met with Guy. I spent an hour or two there gathering information, and I came up with some kind of ballpark pricing and a good estimate of what you guys are looking at and some options. Cott Systems has been around for about 135 years. We were one of the first to develop a computerized land record management system. I have 60 plus towns in Vermont where we have our system. The CARES Act was a big one. I sold 23 systems 2 years ago during the CARES Act. And since then, I put in another dozen or so, and now I have another dozen in the pipeline. and would be glad to add you to that list. I have quite a few customers around you that you can go see or talk to. But this is a big step for towns in Vermont, the majority of whom don't have any kind of land record management system. At least you have NIMRIC, which is, pardon my expression, but at least it's half of the system. But the legislators are trying to make it easy for you guys to fund this. And I've sold 3 in the past couple months using ARPA funds, 7 last year in November, just using ARPA funds. So I think that's a good direction for you guys to go if you have that money available to spend. Other towns are doing that. So with that, I guess I'll take a pause and see if I can answer any questions.
We have a very small town of 300 parcels of land. What estimates might you have for a program, your system for Brookline?
Okay, so I've had other towns smaller than you that have bought systems, and it's, one part of it is about size, but the other part is about digitizing your records and getting them online, because with COVID, when all these offices were shutting around the state and, attorneys couldn't get their business done, it became an issue, no matter what your size, to get them online. But also, I think everybody will agree that at some point in the future, all these towns are going to have their records online. It's just, that's what's going to happen. So the sooner the better that you get these online, the better off you'll be. So I think that looking at your situation in particular, what I found out from Guy was that you're in a great position because you have indexes in NIMRIC that are already available going back to, I think it was, let me look here. I have it. Bring up my spreadsheet here. Your index goes back to July of 1999, and your images you've already scanned, your assistant clerk there has already scanned going back to 96. And so we can import all of those into your land record systems, and almost from day one of implementing the system, put those online. And that's a big advantage that you have. A lot of towns that I've sold systems to don't have any index and don't have any images. And so we have to either come in and scan those and index them for them, or they have to do it themselves. So you're already halfway home.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Mark, how many, are there any towns in our vicinity in Windham County that have done this?
Oh, quite a few. I'm going to have to go to my maps. Hang on a second.
Wilmington, Dover, possibly around Brook.
Okay, let me look at my maps here. So Putney is one of the towns that bought it under the CARES Act. Townsend just bought it, installed it in February. Newfane has been a customer for a long time.
Didn't you just put it in Dover?
Just put it in Dover and Marlborough. Wilmington has been a customer for a while. Whitingham was one of the CARES Act ones. So you got quite a few around you.
Okay, thank you.
When a transaction comes in to be recorded, does the basic process that the town clerk or assistant town clerk goes through vary from what they would normally do if we were tied in or were making ourselves available of your service? How does it differ, the process?
Well, first of all, they would scan the document. So if it's a 10-page mortgage, they would scan those 10 pages, and then they would go in and index it. And usually it's by grantor and grantee, and the date, well, the system assigns today's date unless you want to change it. It gives you a field to put in description of property, an address if you want, or lot number, parcel number. And then it allows you to sign a book and page, the next one that's in sequence. And once you do all that, you just click a button, says link it to this scanned image, and it's in the system. And available online to search seconds later. A searcher in California could go online and see that document a few seconds after you click that button saying that, I want to record this document.
And the town clerk or assistant town clerk, the person in the municipality responsible for that function, still carries on the other processing, puts it in a book, creates a card, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, you don't have to create a card anymore because you already have an index in our system, so people don't have to use cards after this. But yeah, that at the end of the month, they usually create they have a day book, but then at the end of the month, they can print these out and put them into a binder that they can stick in the vault. So people who come in and physically search it can see it.
So any quote that you would provide us with would be utilizing records that have been digitized already back to 1996 to the current time and forward, correct?
Well, that's an option that you have. So as I mentioned, again, I'm going to have to look at my spreadsheet here because I do so many of these. Your index in NIMRICS goes back to 1999, and your scanned images go back to 96. So we can import all of those from your computer into our system and have them available soon after you implement the system.
So that, when you say them, you've made a point up front to distinguish between those back to 1999 and then those that are digitized to 96. Are you referring to that full range or just back to 1999 to grab records from NIMROC to import to your system?
Yeah, so back to 99 to index and link them to images, and we can put the images from 99 to 96 in a folder in the system that people can look at, but because they don't have an index, they can't use the index to find them. And what I told Guy was he wanted to, best practices is to go back about 40 years. So we looked at, the option of indexing and scanning back to 1982. And then he had, what was it? All your loose books go back to 1948. And so I looked at what it would cost to scan back to 1948 and index those for you as well. But that's something, you can do it however you want. And in fact, you can index and scan yourself going back. It's just, a matter of preference.
I have a question. I know we have records that go back to the 1700s, I believe, here in town. So
yeah.
I was under my impression that there was a limit to what physical scanning the clerks could do because the book pages do not come apart for her to do any scanning. So how would your process work with books of that type?
Yeah, so those are we call bound books. They're not loose. Can't take them apart. And those are difficult and expensive. And I have probably every year, I have 150 customers throughout New England towns. And I probably have 10 or so every year that give us bound books. And they're complicated because a lot of times they don't have, the original bound books, they don't have any replication of them, no microfilm or anything. And we have to ship them to Columbus. We usually pick them up and deliver them and then either drive them or ship them back. And clerks get very nervous when they hear that about their bound books, historical books. So we go through all kinds of gyrations. We've never lost a book, but that doesn't assuage the fears of town clerks who have to make that decision. But the process is cumbersome in that we have to somehow get the books to Columbus, where we have special bound book scanners. We have 3 of them. And you have to turn the page, turn the book upside down on the scanner, take a digitized photo of it, take the book out of the scanner, turn the page, put it back down, take another digitized photo of it. So it's very manual and therefore very expensive. And we have special scanners that do that. So to answer your question, we can go back, and we've done it for many towns, go back all the way to day one, but it's expensive, and it's not like scanning your loose books, where we can just take it out of the binder and put it in the hopper of a high-speed scanner, press a button, and have them go like, crazy, 100 pages a minute through the scanner. But I would urge you to, take small bites and get a system in and start at some level that you can afford to go day forward and go back as far as you can. And then over the years, tackle those more complex ones. And with the strategy of maybe 5 years from now, get all your records online. And to complicate matters a little bit more, I mean, you can put your town meetings online. You can put lister cards. You can put your maps and surveys online. So you can, in our system. So your long-term strategy can involve putting many things online, but it takes some effort.
Mark, the price of $17,000 just does the non-bound books going back to 96 and 99, is that correct?
Right. I don't know where you got the price for 17, but that's pretty accurate. I figure if you, again, these are ballpark prices, but if you bought the system for around $6,000 and you imported all the images and indexes you have now on your computers, it would come to about $17,000, $18,000.
So with the bound ones, how much do they cost? I mean, is it by book? Is it by?
The what?
If you really speak up.
Okay, the bound books. How do you?
Oh, the bound books. Yeah, that gets complicated again because of the size and the number of pages per book. And some of, sorry, what?
I'm sorry, Mark. So you kind of quote each of, if we wanted to do 5 this year or 2 this year, you would do a quote on those 2 bound books.
Yeah. Yeah, and to complicate it a little bit further is I have had 2 towns in the past couple months where we looked at the images that we would produce, that the bound books were of such poor quality, they were so faded, that we recommended that we didn't digitize them because the customer wouldn't be happy with those results. despite the fact that we could increase the resolution and we could do grayscale scanning and et cetera, that would improve the image, they were so bad and, faded, and the edges were torn. And I mean, so we would look at each bound book and we would come back and tell you, one, if we would recommend scanning it, and two, what that price would be.
Have you looked at any of ours when you were here talking with?
No.
Guy? Okay.
No.
And one more question. All these other towns, there's 7 of them, and this quote is $17,000. And you said we're halfway there with Mrgp and whatever. Halfway, I guess, ahead of the game. Were the other towns a lot more expensive? Were they not prepared? It's not that it has anything to do with us, but how are they compared to us in terms of setup for you to do it?
I can't remember specifically, but most of the towns had Mrgp indexes that we could import. Most of them didn't have images. So you're ahead there, you have images. And that's due to your assistant clerk there who's been scanning them patiently over the years, I guess. But to give you an idea, I went to Woodbury, a town north of Montpelier today, and they don't have anything. They don't have any indexes and any images. And to buy the system and for us to go back 40 years was $50,000. That's 50 versus your 17 to accomplish the same thing, to give you an idea of what I mean when I say you're ahead of the game.
I have one last question, Mark, and that is following up on what Mr. Mello's question was. Is pricing by page or by book?
It's by page, but so again, more complexity here. When I sold those 23 systems to 23 towns using the CARES Act, we bundled them all together. And that gave us a discount that we could pass along to the towns because we could do training and implementation in groups, and we could buy the scanners in groups, et cetera. And it was $5,300 a system for those 23 customers. When I sold the 7 in November, it was $5,900 a system. So not quite the same discount, but pretty good. I sold a single one that didn't want to wait, and that was $6,800. So to buy the system, it depends on how many people I can get to buy it as a group. The same thing goes for the page. When I scan, if we send out a team from Columbus, Ohio to do the scanning, if I can get a group of people, and last time it was 200,000 images. So if I can get 200,000 images in a week, group the towns, I get a certain rate. If I have to come out and scan one town and then those people have to go back to Columbus, it costs a lot more. If I get someone to come out for 3 weeks, like we did with the CARES Act, it's a lot less. So the pricing is not static, and there's no standard price per page. It depends on several factors.
Will that packaging be with other towns in Vermont, other towns in New England, or other towns across the country?
Yeah, Vermont.
Vermont, okay.
Yeah, I have 2 weeks. So to back up for a minute, we're in 22 states, and there's lots of ARPA money out there, and we're inundated with work. So today, we're 9 months out to come and scan anywhere. I had 2 weeks in this summer that I could fill in Vermont and to come and scan, and those are already filled up. I already have that many customers that want it. So even if today you gave us an order and said, I want you to come out and scan, we're probably talking about December or January or something before we're going to be out there. That's just the competition and the reality.
One last question. I've been a user of your system as part of my past employment. And it was helpful to have tax maps available through the system as well. We only have, since we're so small geographically, 5 tax maps, total of roughly 530 parcels. Would the base cost, I mean, you set that pretty much at around or about 6,000. Would adding that additional component of tax maps significantly increase the cost?
No, it doesn't change the cost at all. So,
It doesn't.
no, you buy the system and you can put whatever you want on it. At some point, and it takes a lot of storage space, we're going to increase your monthly so you have a monthly maintenance of say $180 a month. You buy the system for $6,000 and it's $180 a month for maintenance. That includes customer service, your storage space, et cetera. If you added so many gigabytes and you need a lot to add a lot, then we might bump up that monthly figure by $5 or $10 a month. But that's very unusual. So if you want to add tax maps, you can go in and create an index and scan those yourself and add them yourself, and it doesn't change the price at all. If you want us to do it, then of course you got to pay us to do it. But from day forward, I've had people add survey maps, and I've had them add other things, plus add another 20 years of land records, and it doesn't change their monthly maintenance at all. I had one unfortunate customer here in Connecticut who bought a plat map scanner, and they scanned in 6,000 maps at a very high resolution. And they went from 5 gigabytes of storage to 70. And so we turned around and said, you got to pay us $50 more a month for all the storage space that these maps took up. So anyway, I don't know if I answered your question, but you can add whatever you want to the system. It doesn't cost anything except for your labor.
What does the so-called maintenance, what is it comprised of specifically? What occurs in that maintenance?
So the maintenance is for upgrades and et cetera. And we signed 5-year contracts. So if your maintenance is $180 a month, that's going to be for 5 years. It won't change. And after 5 years, it may go up 2 or 3%, who knows, but it covers customer service. And unfortunately, in this marketplace, what we find is that we do lots of customer service, that the clerks call up all the time, say, I have a problem with this, or I want to know how to do this or whatever. So there's a lot of customer service interaction. And that's what that is primarily for, to cover our cost to service that customer.
And so it's not only maintenance, it's actually service and maintenance, apparently.
Yep, right.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, I was wondering if you would please, I know we talked about it here, we all took some notes, but if you wouldn't mind sending us something in writing with proposals as to, if you did this might be the cost, or part B, this would be the situation. So I was wondering if you could send us something in writing, so that as we get into later on this summer, when we just start to budget out the ARPA money, we would have an idea of, what this might cost if we did this, or what that might cost. So if you could possibly send us a proposals for your
Yep.
system purchase and the gigabytes and the monthly maintenance. This way we would have it on paper as well as what we recall from tonight.
Yes, so here's what I can do for you. There's two routes that I take. The first one is I can give you a ballpark estimate, which will be pretty close based on the information that I gathered today. And I'll send that, I can send that to Guy because I told him I would, with the spreadsheet with all the volumes and et cetera and pricing. That's based on certain assumptions. As I said, I'm going to base it probably on 5 towns that will be grouped with you. And so you'll get the 6,000 price instead of the 6,800 price. And so, you know, it'll give you a good idea to close enough. There are some other assumptions in there because we've been raising prices lately. So I'm going to give you the pricing that I have today, but 6 months from now, who knows what it'll be, but all of that will be, you know, you take it with a grain of salt.
Right, you said that you were
Preferred-
only able to start for 9 months, so.
No, we can start in 30 days if you bought the system and all you did was migrate all your NIMRIC data into the system. I'm talking about 9 months if we're going to come there and scan an index going back from 99 or 96. Got it? So I would urge you to get the system as soon as possible and start, you know, put in all that data and all the images that you have and put them online and go day forward scanning and putting, you know, your records into the system. And then, you know, 9 months from now, we'll come in and tackle the other records going back. So my strategy that I recommend to towns is they take that ballpark estimate and they go to their board and they say, you know, can I have 30,000 of your ARPA funds to do this project? And if they say yes, then I'll put together a proposal. For me to put together a proposal, I have to fill out a bunch of forms. I have to find out what you have for hardware there that, you know, I have to go to PCs and I have to check and see what the CPUs are of your PCs, the RAMs, the operating system. Believe it or not, I've been to some towns and they're still on Windows 7. And I say, no, you know, you can't buy our system because Microsoft doesn't support Windows 7. You have to upgrade to 10. I have to run an internet check to make sure that you have high-speed internet or that it's high speed enough that you can communicate with our data set. I have to go through all these hoops before I can give you a contract. So that's why I say I like to give an estimate first. And if you come back to me and say, yeah, that estimate of 30,000 or whatever fits in our budget, then I'll go through and do all these other steps and get you a contract. If you want, I can skip all that and go and put Guy to work and whoever is there, or I can come back at some point in the next week or two and get all this information to give you a contract. It's up to you.
We're not ready for contract. But we're not ready for contract. We will not be doing ARPA planning for a month or two yet.
Yeah, so we'll take the first strategy. I'll send Guy an estimate, a ballpark estimate with my spreadsheet and all my assumptions. And that'll give you a pretty good idea of what it'll be. And then if at, you know, a couple months from now, your board says, okay, we have the money in ARPA, give us a contract, then I can start the next steps.
Should that be copied to you? I'm assuming he's talking.
Yeah, would you also copy it to myself?
Yes.
You have my email address,
Yes.
.maggio, dmaggio.brookline.bc.
Yeah. Yep,
All
I'll
right.
copy it too.
All right, excellent. Anything else, gentlemen?
Okay.
Mark, thank you so much for explaining that a little bit more clearly this evening. It's an interesting system. We will look forward to, you know, reviewing what you have to say and talk to Guy about it a little bit more. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm sorry I couldn't meet with you yesterday. As I said, I'm limiting my outdoorness this week.
Yeah.
Get hurt.
Well, thank you for inviting me and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Very, very good. Appreciate that. All right, I'm going to go back to our minutes and,
One second.
yes, sir.
I raised my hand because I had some questions, and as a non-resident, it may not be appropriate for me to ask any questions. So I decided to wait until after that fellow had left.
Okay.
Would you entertain a question from me?
Absolutely,
Go
sir.
ahead, Peter.
I spent 20 years as the CEO of a software company that sold my software to the building trades. And that was a sales presentation. And it had in it veiled threats that if you don't hurry up, it'll cost more, etc. And everybody else is doing it.
Right.
And that kind of stuff makes me nervous. Because what happens with software is it goes obsolete really fast.
Exactly, I know.
And they got to sell you a new one. Once they got the camel's nose in the tent, you're stuck. So it might be fine. All these towns might be making out like bandits this way. But
I do.
the system he describes is not complicated. He's going to make it sound like rocket science. 70 gigabytes. I have in my wallet 2 chips the size of your thumbnail that each hold 190 gigabytes with all my work on them. I've got 4 terabytes in the cellar. I got 2 terabytes on the machine I'm talking to you on. And for them to claim that what did he say? It was like 40 gigabytes more was going to cost another $50 a month or something? That's crazy. That's absolutely outrageous. I couldn't believe he would say that with a straight face. So obviously this guy from Ohio thinks that you're a bunch of hicks. I also wanted to caution you that if you have a lot of images, there could be incompatibilities that they don't notice until after the contract's signed, and suddenly everything's got to be scanned all over again.
Oh, geez.
I've been messing with images quite a lot recently, and there are compatibility issues, and there are issues of images that are what they call lossy. Some images are bigger and have a lot more detail. Some images have a much lower resolution, and they're not satisfactory. These people obviously know what they're doing about that, I hope. But if you're going to sign a contract on this stuff, that kind of detail has to have been established. You have to know that the images that you already have are going to fit in the system. So anyway, if I go any farther, I'll start ranting like John Belushi.
Peter, that's immensely helpful. I think from a gut perspective was sensing exactly what you're saying, but not quite to the detail. I really appreciate your sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Anybody who's going to
Sure.
tell you that's going to help you out if you hurry up, run away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm also wondering, are there any other companies
There
that
are
are compatible?
2 or 3.
Yeah, so we couldn't just
And
go
then,
with.
you know, I
just
have to
one.
ask, is it really such a big deal? What if you didn't do it? Who's going to
Yeah.
give a crap?
That's right.
Some lawyer's going to call up and say, well, I can't get this real estate stuff online. Fine, come down to the office.
Yeah.
Your client will have to pay you a little bit for windshield time.
Yeah, right.
But this
All right.
this whole context just bothered the hell out of me. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll shut up. I'm totally out of order.
No,
Again, thank you very much.
you know, if we didn't
Okay.
do it because of Peter, how much more money did we save by his reporting fee for every week? How much was it worth that we just, the information we just got from him?
Yeah.
Yes,
Just
no, I
saying.
appreciate that.
So thank you, Peter.
All right, I'm going to move on to the agenda. We're going to go back and review and or review and approve minutes from the regular meeting on April 20th, 2022. Does anybody have any changes for page 1? Anybody have any changes for page 2? Stan?
Let's see. Yes, under discuss status of class 2 and bridge work report. I think I indicated that Mr. Clark emailed me back indicating there were no projects currently to be done. So if that could be added. Mr. Clark emailed Stan indicating no active work currently being done.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Under discuss status of construction inspector bids from Zoom meeting with Margot of WRC on 4/18. And so that's dealing with construction inspector. And then the very first line, Mr. Noga explained that it was too costly to pursue. I would suggest, and if I messed up in my statement, I apologize immensely to you, Peter, which I probably did, but it was actually the construction project itself that was cost prohibitive at this time, as opposed to the construction inspector bid. So I guess what I would like to suggest is on the very first line under the beginning of that paragraph title, if you could kindly, after the word Noga explained that.
The project itself.
I'm sorry?
I just put in the project itself.
Correct, that's good. That's good.
Okay.
And then I had one other, the second line from the bottom of page 2. I would simply ask that the word had, H-A-D, be replaced by may be.
Maybe elevated.
Yeah. Because we weren't guaranteed that it was going to reach 40,000, but the range of potential costs, depending on what the market did, could get it to possibly 400,000. So if we put may be instead of had, that would make it more accurate. Thank you.
How about could elevate?
All right, page 3. Does anybody have any changes for item page 3, Mr. Noga?
Yes, at the top of the page, first paragraph, I'm going to suggest that that in the next to last sentence, everything after the word machinery be simply removed.
State labor and machinery.
And then add in a credit situation.
Send it to both and explain that the cost of state labor and machinery.
In a credit.
In a credit situation.
In a credit situation.
Yeah, and that period.
Could be reduced.
Well, that's the ultimate result. Yes, if you want to add that in, that's even better. You're alert as ever.
Well, it was about that cost could be reduced if residents would take some of the cleanup, to take for firewood and stuff.
Well, that's the part that the fact that people are going to possibly be available. That was just a thought that I should never have stated, because it would be just a total sideline. The trees need to be removed in order to make space available for the construction of the building. My not thinking that there's someone who's taking very important notes. I went and casually offered that maybe the town could dispose of the wood by letting citizens use it for firewood. But that act of allowing citizens to do that does not diminish the cost to the town. So that's why I'm asking that to be deleted.
That whole sentence sets you up in a strange way. Would you like to strike the whole thing? Send it to both?
Well, now you're gonna challenge my thinking, and that's dangerous at this point in the evening, so.
Well, I have to follow the logic here. It says
Okay, all
about
right.
explain that the cost of state labor and machinery, comma, in a credit situation, what? Or explain without
Okay,
that,
all right.
explain the cost of state labor and machinery in a credit situation.
Let's see, I guess maybe the thing that, okay, so yeah, what you're saying is true. I guess the way to end that statement, that paragraph, is to indicate Mr. Noga found the verbiage in the proposed project contract and forwarded it to both Ms. Gia and Mr. Hunt for their review. Period. And that should cover that.
Sorry, I got a call from my wife on the road, but it says, found the verbiage in the contract and sent it to both Mr. Hunt and Ms. Gia.
Correct. That will serve the purpose of that. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
All right, as we continue on, any other changes to page 3?
Yes,
Stan?
down on where it says MRGP annual report. In where you start the parentheses with the letter A, the symbol, and symbol, and then R, that and symbol should be the letter N as in Nancy. So it's A as in apple, N as in Nancy, R as in Ralph.
Oh, Agency of Natural Resource.
And the next line down, the same thing with that A and symbol in R. It's A as in apple, N as in Nancy, B, R as in Ralph. It's a department of Vermont, the Agency of Natural Resources, and they go by the abbreviation ANR.
I'm not sure where you mean. When that happens, it's usually because there's a glitch in the HTML, because the ampersand it stands for something else in HTML code. But all I have here is A&R watershed management contract.
Yeah, it's as I say, it's A as in apple, N as in Nancy, R as in Ralph, watershed management contract.
Oh, A&R. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll do that.
yeah. Which the abbreviations stand for Agency of Natural Resources.
Right,
Leaving
right,
it
of course.
the short is, and then the very next line, same concern.
Got it.
All right, anything else, page 3? Page 4? Anything on page 5?
No.
Bruce?
Can I see your sheet?
Wait a minute, no, the draft, yeah.
This is what I looked at. This is page 5?
Of the April 20th.
Page 5. Oh, where is it? There it is. Okay, under RFP, about a third of the way down, Peter. It says ACO, then RFP underneath it
What page?
on
Page
page
5.
5. And it says paving repairs due to FEMA storm 4621. That's not a date, that's a number designated for it.
That's the storm number.
Okay, never mind about that. And REF, should that be RFP? What does REF mean? And REF for paving an area on Grassy Brook Road.
Should be a request for proposal.
So it should be RFP,
Yes,
not REF.
done.
RFP, request for proposal, okay.
Okay,
Good,
and then a
good
little
eye.
further down. I'm sorry, Peter, yes?
Good eye.
But don't get excited about that. Okay, let me see.
That
now.
is actually, that's not my mistake, by the way.
We'll,
Oh, all right, maybe I sent it to him. Because the
okay.
meeting ended and, yeah.
That was in the
Okay,
agenda. I don't
And,
question the agenda.
what's that?
I don't question the agenda.
Just above communications, Peter.
Yeah,
The second sentence before that, I know, it's the second, excuse me, let me try that again.
me a word.
The sentence just before communication says, the meeting with Susie will be 10 a.m. at the daycare building. I think you should say 10 a.m. on 4/27/22. Okay,
well, yes, I think I've,
got it?
okay.
It's just above communications. And it
No, I
says the
got that.
meeting-
Tell me what it needs to
Okay.
say. The meeting will be 10 a.m.
Yeah, me at 10 a.m. on 4/27/22
Ah,
at the daycare building.
got it.
Okay, thank you. That's all I got.
Anything on page 6? Oh, the payroll warrant amount, I don't know what that number is. Anybody have the copy of payroll warrant number 63? This was confusing that night.
Yes, it was. I'm not even sure that's the number.
It's not the number. It's the batch number.
Maybe we'll have to get back to Peter.
Okay, so we're gonna have to approve it when we get down to it, but this has to be identified.
You had the folder there, but do you still have it?
I have this folder, but you see where the guy came out with a different payroll number and he said this was wrong. and
That's
I
right.
Corrected it, and so I didn't have that number with me.
Yeah.
It wasn't with me long enough to copy it. All right, there is an item that we'll have to correct after the fact because I don't have the correct number here under pay order for payroll warrant. There is no money amount here, so I will have to check on that.
Okay,
Okay,
I will hold this until we have that amount.
yes, all right, I will see if I can get that tomorrow.
Got it.
Page 6, on April 20th. Anything else on page 6? Page 7? Page 7 is the appendix, which I forwarded, which is what we discussed last week. Okay, all right, I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from April 20th, 2022, with the exception of payroll warrant amount to be determined tomorrow.
Second.
And seconded by Stan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from April 20th, and with the exception of the payroll warrant information, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you. All right, do this. Next, we have, we're going to review the minutes of the special meeting from April 18th. Anybody have anything, any changes from page 1? Mr. Noga?
Yes, under number 4, the first line is next to number 4. The second paragraph down is a rather large one, and that's the third paragraph where it says Doc continued by saying.
Okay, this is my, yeah, I have to edit this because he didn't take these notes, but go ahead.
Right. It goes on to say was called to discuss the ARPA money the town of Brookline received, as well as the fiduciary responsibilities, and then the sentence ends. And another,
Oh, the select board has to consider.
so that T should be a small t.
Yeah, I have the,
Okay.
okay,
All right.
I'll edit this. Okay, anything else on page 1, which I didn't number? I have to number these, sorry.
It's okay. You did a lot.
Page 2. Anybody have any comments or changes to page 3? Okay, hearing none. I'd like to make it a motion to approve the special meeting minutes from April 18th, 2022 with the one edit mentioned in item 4. May I have a second? Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from April 18th, 2022 signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you very much. Last but not least, the draft minutes from a limited edition meeting on Monday, April 25th. Again, I need to number my pages. Sorry about that. I'll fix that. Any changes to page 1? Any changes to page 2? Any changes to page 3?
I have a suggestion for number 6 under ARPA.
Yes.
Let's see. I know at some point I had referenced that from the ARPA perspective in terms of delineating the purpose and then the specific subsection of that general heading. It falls under a category called retention of employees. So I don't know if, I guess what I'm suggesting is that in that middle paragraph, next to last paragraph where it says using ARPA money for this salary shortfall was deemed appropriate. And I either in print, and I suggest maybe in parentheses, put retention purpose, period. Just as an aid. It sounds picky, but
You want to identify the actual part of it. So what is that? It was deemed appropriate.
for retention, for a retention purpose.
Okay. Okay, makes sense. Any other changes? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from April 25th with those changes, which is numbering of the pages and addition for retention purpose. May I have a second?
Second?
I think he was louder. Stan seconded it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from April 25th, 2022 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, old business, open review voter table paving bid for the FEMA repairs. Mr. Tanza checked the post office earlier today around 4:30, no additional bids came in. We do have, looks like 2 bids for each one. The first bid that we're gonna look for is the FEMA one. Honey Mountain Road and Grassy Brook Road. Okay, this one. And this is Grassy Brook, which one are we doing first? The FEMA disaster. All right, I'm gonna let these, let me pass these out to you guys, and you can each open one and read them. Give this one to Stan. We received a bid from the Basin Brothers Trucking Inc. from Westminster, Vermont, and we also received a bid from Allstate Construction Inc. from Sunderland, Massachusetts. All right.
Could you give me those again?
I'm sorry?
Could you give me those names again? Basin
Yes.
Brothers, the Allstate?
Bazin Brothers, BAZIN Brothers of Westminster, Vermont. And the other company is All States Construction, Inc. of Sunderland, Massachusetts.
Thanks.
Okay. Bruce, you have the Allstate's construction bid.
So we do.
You want to read that out loud for us?
We're pleased to submit the following proposal for Blacktop repairs, Putney Mountain Road and Grassy Brook Road. The blacktop milling is 226 SY square yard. $27, 226 square yard estimated quantity. Unit price is $27 a square yard for a total of $6,102. How did I do there, Peter?
Good.
Winners never cease, huh? Okay, next is hot mix asphalt. There's 48 tons quantity. At $165 a ton for a grand total of $7,920. And then there's specifics about contractor responsible for traffic control, project start date directed by the town. We guarantee that all materials supplied and work done shall comply with the state of Vermont Agency of Transportation standard specifications for highways and bridges, as well as those of the town of Brookline. Thank you. And in the packet is also enclosed. I guess it explains them, their and then there's subsidiaries, a non-collusion statement, and hot mix in place references, which include town of Whitingham, Milford, New Hampshire, Chesterfield, New Hampshire, and some others. And then the paving equipment that's going to be used, I believe, is what it looks like. And milling previous work, similar to the list of towns that I gave you before, but with a little bit of a difference. Corporation certificate to action. I don't know what this is, and it's
This is part
notarized.
of their vendor package.
Okay, it's notarized. Certificate of liability insurance is enclosed. Additional remark schedule, additional insured owners and leases. This is all the packet.
Okay, so we're looking at for the first bid here, let me add it up, 6102 and 7920, 278,
14.
$14,022 for the damage on Putney Mountain Road and Grassy Brook Road from the storm that occurred, disaster 4621 for the first bid. All right, and Stan, do you have a second bid?
Well, this bid is for the patch near the bridge on Grassy Brook Road. It's at the T where Putney Mountain Road's to the right. And it's also for the upper Putney Mountain Road area, prepping and handiwork, removal of pavement and paving. And there are some terms in here that are completely alien to me on the second page, which does not have the numbers. And I would expect that Mark and or Archie would want to review this because it doesn't mean anything to me. And it may be a significant issue when in fact it's done and over and said with. It may add to costs, I'm not sure. You know what needs to be done, and unfortunately I don't. What I can tell you is that for the simple patchwork at that intersection of Putney Mountain Road and Grassy Brook Road at the bridge, the work for cold planing of 8 feet by 25 feet to an area of 2 inches, paved milled area with 3/8 inch type 4 and a tack coat. Cost for that is $2,650. To prep Putney Mountain Road and for other handwork patching, which involves saw cutting and removing pavement as needed, prep existing gravel for 4 inches of paving, pave 2 courses, 2.5 inches of base and 1.5 of top, area to be paved 4 feet by 260 feet. That cost or bid amount is $11,000 even. For Putney Mountain Road, REM period pavement and pave with explicit comments of, and I know, Peter, this is being unfair to you here, just leave out what you need to. Saw cut and remove pavement as needed is one comment. Pave 2 courses, 2.5 of base and 1.5 of top. Area to be paved 10 feet by 80 feet. For that, topic, it's $17,000 even. The grand total for both areas, or all three major categories, is $30,650. And again, page 2 has a lot of stuff like says shoulder, gravel, and or loam at edges of new pavement by others. I have no idea whether the first bid includes that additional work or not. These people do not. Compaction testing to be done by others. I don't know how that relates to the other bid. There's a comment here about an issue that Bazin Brothers will not be held responsible for puddles or areas slow to drain due to design issue, creating areas of less than 2% slope. Then it goes on to say pricing for this project is based upon no retainage. I have no idea what that is. If project is to have retainage, please contact us prior to awarding this contract to discuss. So there are things that I don't know how it affects this bid, what it means.
I'd like to make a motion or suggest that we table the awarding of these bids, of this particular bid, until reviewed by the Mark Bills and Archie Clark and get their recommendation and interpretation of what the bid actually means based upon the original RFP.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
The only addition I would make to that is the number 12 in the second page. It says, this quote is valid for 15 days. Payment terms are 15 days.
Wow.
Pavement marking are by others. And it says they'll start July 15th and end by September 1st.
So you got payment 15 days, we had to
So
start.
not that, we gotta accept it in 15 days, otherwise it could be changed. So there's a 2-week limit in that regard. So
Okay,
we
well,
need to
yeah.
bear that in mind when we look to others for guidance.
All right,
Good.
I'll put this back here. So I made a motion to table the awarding of this bid until we can review this in more detail with the road commissioner and road supervisor. May I have a second?
You have it.
Second by Bruce. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of tabling this initial bid for disaster 4621 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the bid is currently tabled at this time. Next bid is for the RFP for the blacktop milling and resurfacing on Grassy Brook Road. Bruce, I'm going to give to you the Allstate's construction, and I will pass the Bazin Brothers bid to Mr. Noga.
Look some more.
Give you a minute to look at it, and then I'll ask you to summarize it.
Almost there.
Okay, this is for the milling and resurfacing of a section of Grassy Brook Road for approximately 1,675 feet. Bruce, what could you tell me about the Allstate's construction?
Blacktop milling, estimated quantity, 4,094 square yards at 3 1/4, $3.25 a square yard, for a total of 13,305.50, $13,305.50, $13,305.50, Peter.
Yep.
Okay. Hot mix asphalt, 458 tons at $115 a ton, for a grand total of $52,670. That would make the total $65,975.50.
Say again, please.
Yep, the grand total will be $65,975.50.
Thank you.
Welcome. And this is a similar packet as with what they gave the first time. I don't see the sense of going through it all again. It's
No.
very similar.
All right,
Okay,
we'll
that's
put that
good.
back in the
I
envelope.
can do that.
All right, so Stan has Bazin Brothers
Yeah, Days and Brothers Trucking dated 5/3 of 2022. It's a quotation. There's two major categories. Milling existing blacktop to a depth of 1.5 inches. It's 4,100 square yards. Cost $13,940. Second category is for the machine paving. 465 tons. The total is for that category, $50,220. And a grand total of $64,160 even. The only documentation that was sent with this, aside from page 2, which is exactly the same as the other quote that I just read regarding the other area of town, is their certificate of liability insurance, which they sent in. But the same comments that appeared on that other report are the same for this one. 15 days, low spots, they take no responsibility for. Retainage is an issue again, shoulder gravel issue again, et cetera, et cetera. And there's another category that give Mark something to think about, Mr. Bills. It says one mobilization included in above price. It's a cost of $3,250 for each additional mobilization. And I, again, as a novice, have no idea what implications that has for the job. So it looks like another cabling venture here.
That's what we have a road crew for.
I'm going to make a motion that we table this second bid until further review with the road supervisor and road commissioner to make sure that we have a complete understanding of the limitations of the contracts or the bids that have been presented for this particular job. May I have a second?
You got it.
Seconded by Bruce. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of tabling the second bid and for future review, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, the bid will be tabled at this time. Thank you. It's this one. Right, thank you very much. Next item on our agenda, purchase policy. Does the select board wish to change the purchase policy regarding accepting electronic bid submission as such as email or fax? Discussion and vote. I am going to read the statement. There is no statutory process for electronic bidding. Refer to your purchase policy is the advice. If nothing is in the purchase policy, as long as you are upfront with the applicant, you should be okay. It may be worth revising your purchase policy to have a better clarification on electronic bids. A VLTC is available for further help if we would like. And I just was thinking about what Bruce was saying about fax issues and that sometimes they are not sufficient. And I believe that since we have extended the amount of time between putting a bid out and when it needs to come in, instead of having it due in 2 weeks, we now have it due the following month. It provides enough time for mailing. So I would no longer be in favor of modifying the purchase policy unless you all convince me differently tonight.
Well, as far as the facts, I already made my point. What happened with my doctor for Patty's neck issue, where I had to go back and forth 4 or 5 times and they couldn't figure out what was going on and they got stuck in the fax machine. We don't want that to happen. The person makes a bid and it doesn't go through, we're gonna have a problem if he's not recognized. So I think the fax thing is out. Email, cut to the chase. I'm gonna keep it the way it is. That's what I'm at. I don't know what you say.
I'm for emailing and not using fax.
Are you?
Yeah, because if, we found ourselves in a situation with the sand and salt shed where things need to be done like that. And by not including it, we're then having to deal with justifying that one time, where if we include it in the ability of the purchase policy to include it, and in the specific RFP, depending upon time constraints, we make that decision at that time, which aspect of our purchase policy do you want to use? Do you want to allow them to mail it and email it? Do you want to allow them to email it? I don't know about you, but I have found over the last half year, since the first of the year, that my neighbors are getting my mail and I'm getting their mail. We are all post
Oh,
office
you
boxes
got
in a
point.
line, but somehow the number on the front, 65, seems to be matching the number 47, the number 45, and the
Well,
number
he's got a
38.
point.
So stuff is going to the wrong place, and then reading the front porch forum, when back when I first started having problems, there were people who were not getting their mail for
I
days
remember
on
that.
end.
The post
So-
office.
We lately, the last 14 days, it's been great, but I have no idea whether that's gonna change, and I thought, it would be kind of nice to have a foolproof system where if we need a bid by a certain date and we allow for the email route to be utilized and specify the email address, it's only gonna go into that email address, whether it be the select board, or the town clerk, or the town, or whatever. We're assured we're gonna get it, and if the person who sent it doesn't find the address because they're one digit off, it's just gonna bounce back. They'll
That's
look
right.
it up and send it to
That's
the right
correct.
place. So I think from an expediency and an efficiency, and heaven forbid, emergencies as time to time happen, that I would feel comfortable with having an email option
Add to it.
available. And if we felt it appropriate, you can state that
And
in the
announce it
RFP.
when you're doing the
Yeah.
RFP.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
I'm
that
good
way
with
every option is available, it's on the table.
Okay.
Use it as you see fit.
What do you think, Don?
Well, I
I
think the faxing is a problem, I agree. I didn't think about the postal, but I do remember the postal delivery issues.
They're looking for help too. They're
Yes,
having
they
issues
are.
with personnel.
Ours does go
I
to
did that job, so I know it pretty well.
our stuff does go to a post office box, but if you wanted to change the purchase policy to accept electronic bid submissions such as email, should we get I don't have my purchase policy
I
here.
read it to you a little bit.
And it's nothing we can do right now, really. I mean, I suggest we make suggestions or in a work session or mail the suggestions to each other,
Well, you've already got it.
modify it.
You've already stated it.
So we
So
just
you
need to
know,
read we need someone to
We need to
retype,
rewrite the purchase. policy.
retype
Right.
the,
or add to it or whatever you have
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah, I mean,
Or-
just
or
like
s-
yourself did. I 3 weeks ago, maybe 4, asked the very same question of the LCT. I get a very similar answer from a different person.
Uh-huh.
And they match. It's allowable. The law doesn't deal with it. You do what you want because the law doesn't address it. As long as you're consistent and orderly in the process, that's what matters.
And we insert it in the purchase policy, and when we do the RFP, we'll state we're accepting snail mail, email, whatever.
So the next question is, if we all agree to that, who is gonna volunteer? Or how are we gonna make the necessary language change? So that we don't leave anything undone before we.
Well, we'd
reach
have to
that
look at the purchase policy and just change it with that insert.
you typing it up? Is that what you're
You're
saying?
gonna ask me to type?
Well, that's what Stan's saying. Who's going to do the change? I'm gonna be out. I'm not.
Well,
gonna be able to
we don't
do
have to do this
it.
right this minute like snail and sand, we can do
No,
it.
no, for the next meeting, I suspect, if we have a next, this month or another one next month, I'd be happy to do it if,
I'm not too fast to type.
I'm not either, but I figured out how to verbally say stuff to Microsoft Word and it
You
goes
wanna-
right
Oh,
along.
really?
Do you wanna put it in for June? For June
Sure.
meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just put it back a little bit.
If you'd like, if you don't mind,
Okay, don't you have enough
Who will
words?
the email go to, the town's computer? or-
that's another question we need to deal with.
Because
We could say it loosely, either as directed by the board, select board, which could mean flexibility, or if we know already which one it's gonna be, then state it. You get an
Yeah, we
idea?
could put a wording in there, so, as per the RFP, direct the emails to as per each individual RFP, probably would come to the select board chair.
Yeah,
Um,
just so that one person sees it only.
yeah, so that it's
So
not, yes, it keeps the confidentiality going.
My apology for cutting you off.
No, no problem.
All right, so we will agree that adding the option of using email for bids is the select board's choice in our discussion. And we will actually modify and have a new policy to sign sometime in June. All right, very good, thank you. Let's see, next one, Green Up Day. Great sign, I guess Timbo put that up at the corner of Hill Road and Grassy Brook Road with the bags. There are more bags here in town.
That was actually Tommy Brooks.
Oh, Tommy Brooks?
Who did that.
Oh,
Tommy Brooks did that?
Fantastic.
It's the snowmobile.
I thought it was the snowmobile sign. I said that to Howard. I said, where's that snowmobile sign? But
Yeah.
Sure, I'm thinking he made it up.
Green Up Day. He's been doing it since he was a kid.
Oh, wow.
Every year you can count on Tommy Brooks. And not to discredit Tim for stepping up to
No.
take charge, but Tommy put that up, made the cover to put over the snowmobiles.
I
And,
reckon, okay.
and then also, he did talk with Tim and they decided to put the bags there
Underneath it.
available so that if anybody wanted to go out ahead of time.
I think, was that you talked about in the,
It's been empty for 2 days.
yeah,
So-
in the square?
So they put, I don't know how many
No
rolls of bags in there when the sign went up. They all disappeared. Tommy came and see me and I stopped and got another
more?
4 rolls of bags. Put those in, we put them through the handle so they could rip them off on the milk crate. Those all disappeared.
Great.
Oh, they're stealing them.
I've only seen
They're
Yeah,
three,
stealing. They're
three
stealing
bags,
them.
Why
roadside.
would you want to steal plastic bags
Because
at
they're-
$2 or $100?
Strange things happen.
They're
So-
stealing them. They're big.
I-
hefty bags.
Oh, they're
I
the
didn't-
big, oh, they're the big ones.
Yes.
I didn't want to give all of our bags up, so I kept 5 rolls here
Oh,
for
just-
Saturday.
Yeah.
In case people do still show up here. Tommy's got plans, he's got the normal crew that generally shows up for Saturday
Wow.
morning.
That's wonderful.
Good,
We're
good.
making plans already to,
So how many rolls do you think are disappeared already? 6?
I'm gonna say probably more like 8,
8
8
rolls.
to 10 rolls have disappeared. And I've only seen 3 bags
Bags,
beside the
yeah.
road, and it says, pick up, leave them beside the road.
Yes, I
whatever.
saw that.
And Tommy didn't want me to pick them up so that we could tell where people had green.
Cleaned up.
So I'm hoping that come
It's a
green up
wild
day, we don't get everybody's shed in a green bag and their tires laying beside Grassy Brook Road. But we'll find out.
Yeah, when
Alright.
it's coming in, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people, yeah,
What a bummer.
I
Maybe we
mean-
should leave,
I've monitored the roadsides just driving into Brookline and out, and it's pretty clean from the Green Iron Bridge up through here, with the exception of a couple items you can notify from.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, my wife and I took a walk down to the bottom of Hill Road where the recycle bin is.
Yeah.
And then we went up to Kirsch Road and there was a lot of beer cans and soda cans
Yeah.
in that area. And that's what we're gonna work on that day. that
All
morning.
right, yeah, I'm sure walking, you're definitely gonna find stuff you won't see from the vehicle, but
Because they throw really well,
yeah.
except the firm line.
Now, Putney Mountain's gonna be one of the biggest challenges. There's recliners, there's bureaus,
Really?
there's household rubbish.
Wow.
Somebody-
Bathroom remodel.
Yeah, somebody remodeled bathroom, there's sheet rock and
That's
sinks and toilets and. But Johnny Swing and Tom
Can't say
Hicks,
anymore.
have a crew that is planning to go there first thing.
Fantastic.
Get those down off the hill, and then there's more stuff out on Ellen Ware Road.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, it seems like, I think when COVID went by, a lot of stuff didn't get touched.
And now they're doing it.
But you drive Route 30 and it's every 10 feet, there's a can, there's a bottle.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
So,
Mm.
we,
Okay.
All right, well,
Keep on.
all right, so we'll, thank you, and I'll send out a letter trying to get people to be more conscientious about stealing the green up bags.
well, maybe they're holding them till Saturday.
Maybe,
And they're gonna,
I will say I'm hoping that.
Yeah, let's hope for the best.
Item G, ARPA forms. The ARPA forms were submitted on April 29, 2022, with much to the thankful help I received from Melissa Brown. Because of the Excel, she was able to take our budget and put it in a format that download and upload up to ARPA. And therefore, we should be getting the second half of the payments this summer if we hadn't gotten that. And it was a little hairy, it was stressful at first, making sure that we have
By the
everything.
30th.
Yeah, so it's all done.
Good.
Thank you. And Melissa as
Thank you,
well.
Melissa.
Yes. All right, item H, open select board seats. It's the responsibility of the current select board to try to fill the vacant select board. And I'm guessing we need to really think about how to do so that, and we can roll that together with the administrative assistance discussion about, well, we'll do one at a time. You know, I started doing that one letter and it was very long, and then we discussed at another meeting that maybe the ending should be changed a little bit. I don't know, I don't know what to do. I mean, there's a lot of vacancies. I don't know how to really put it out there
Yeah.
because I have too much, I had a lot of emotion, I guess, when I wrote that, so.
I don't think there's any way, a nice way around me saying this, but I think we should be picky. And we're not in a position to be picky. Because we're working together, together rather well. We've only been working together, what, a month as the three. And if we have somebody that's interested, hey, I'm happy to listen to what somebody has to say. I want to see what they offer to help us or to help the town. And if they're willing to leave their, I've always looked at it, leave your personal agenda at the door, you're here to work for the town. I'm happy to talk to you, anybody that's a townsperson would be interested in helping us out. I don't want to say that the wrong way, but when I first started saying be picky, I meant that in a positive way. And if I can branch off to the administrative assistant, quite frankly, I think that's more important of the two right now, just to alleviate the current strain.
But by law, we have to do the select board, not the administrative assistant.
By law, we have to
We have
do
to
what?
fill the select board vacancies as soon as possible.
But how are we gonna select it?
That's what I'm saying, that's what we're
Okay.
discussing, how are we going to reach to the community?
Okay, so make an attempt is what you mean. Well, you've already done that, haven't
I
you?
have not, Mail, I have not put it out.
Okay, so you want to, it was done, I believe that the open seats were done at town meeting, weren't they?
Not the
At
select
Julie's
board.
website?
I think before the town meeting, didn't we send out through?
Oh,
Julie?
yeah,
Yes.
before, we've been
Okay.
looking for,
Okay, so
But-
it's been done, not
Yes.
since after. the-
correct.
Not since that point, but yeah, if you want to redo it on Julie's website and the front porch forum,
The thing is, I have so much to do in 3 days. I
no,
don't
you're
know.
not doing nothing in 3 days.
I'm
except
willing
this.
to assist in any way possible. As a matter of fact, and I'm beginning to get worried and troubled. I've mentioned this more than once. If there's a number of things piling up, do not hesitate to say, look, these are what I got. This is what I feel comfortable with. Would you mind doing this?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Chances are I'm gonna be willing to help you. I mean,
If we-
so I don't, one of my past faults, if I have other one,
What are the last 10 years, right, Stan?
is I did not like to delegate, because I like to have a handle on it myself, and that is a
Understand.
flaw, because there are, it's almost saying this other person isn't gonna do it right, or they can't do it, and that was an inappropriate assumption on my part. It's just that I like to be a hands-on kind of, know what's
I know
going out,
exactly what you
so
mean.
I'm
So do I.
guessing that you're just like that, and it's gonna be a hard thing to get rid of. But again, I don't know what more I can say. It hurts me to know that you're spending all the time you've got. You're walking around with aches and pains because of knee and you're gonna have an operation.
Right.
And there
You're
needs
here.
to, the wall has been hit. We need to look at what we can do to divvy things up.
Right.
If you already have a copy of my initial one that I sent out, the draft.
Yeah.
If you wanted to modify that, if I could resend it in a Word document for modification purposes, I would be willing to do that, and then we can you can change the ending to make it less,
Whatever, yeah.
okay.
I'd be willing to help. I mean,
All
you know,
right.
we're all in this together. And if I can follow up on Bruce's comments, I think one of the things that, and you've appropriately mentioned it, is that it does take some work. I was looking at some comments made by another town officer in another town recently that surfaced in the paper. and they were looking for additional staff, and the same concept came up. To say I will and sit and offer to do nothing, refuse to do nothing, is tantamount to having only 3 board members in the first place. So I suggest that, when when this modification is made, that we,
Modification meaning adding.
meaning that the change of the letter or
Oh, okay.
add or whatever best
Yeah,
term that is, that we let individuals know it does take time. I'm finding myself spending inordinate amounts of
Yeah.
time, and when you're writing something or saying something, you don't want to hurt anyone's
Right.
feelings, you don't want to imply anything,
Right.
and sometimes, and not thinking it all the way through, but hastily putting it down, you do say or think something that shouldn't be said or it related. So that is, I guess, part of the act or routine or responsibility that each select board member and any town official has. So I would, like to make it clear that, there is an option, and that we start hiring people with salaries to take over some of the responsibilities, given the toll that it is continually taking, not just on our board in this town, but other towns as well.
Mhm.
Where you only have, like, I keep feeling sorry for the people up in Athens in the same boat we are.
Are they?
Yeah.
Because we've been going through this since last summer,
Year
ever
after year.
since the hurricane and on infinitum. And now we've lost Dave, and now we lost Glenn, and we're down to 3 people.
And it's part of democracy. The unfortunate part of democracy is that the citizens have to be involved. And it's not a free ride,
Now,
it
it isn't a free ride.
isn't.
It is absolutely not. And you're touching on, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're touching on a subject that I really got real strong about. And that has nothing to do with anybody that's been on this board. But caring, it's been an excuse the last 2 years not to care. Think about that for a second. It's an excuse in the last 2 years, given that everything's going on, not to care. In other words, what I'm pertaining to is people have committed themselves to doing things, but in the last 2 years, they've had a reason. Okay, I can get out of it now. And I've seen that time and time. I don't know if you both agree with me, but that's what I see. And, who am I to throw stones at people? And I'm not, that's not my intent, but we're in a different environment than we were 3 years ago.
I correlate looking for select board members or volunteers, citizen volunteers. It's difficult enough to hire someone for a paying job. There are so many jobs that are not being filled, that makes it even more difficult for us. So if we can handle the select board seats and administrative assistants initial thing by putting out that letter, as I said, I'll send you the Word document. You can modify, change it, rewrite it, use it or not use it if you'd like, and put it out and see what we get.
Well,
Because these are all.
I was speaking the negative, now flip to the positive. And you got a person like Melissa Brown. And the story, I mean, she's great. I mean, as far as what she's committed to helping us with and her attitude, and we've worked with her on her needs, and boy, I love the way that relationship is starting. And after going through the, watch my words, uncertainty in the last 3 or 4 years of treasurer's position, the mode of stability that's starting to happen makes me warm and fuzzy. I'll leave it at that.
However, Bruce, we just got notified
I
today
know.
that the
I know.
treasurer has to be a resident of
I
Brookline,
know.
even if she's an appointed treasurer. It's not the same as appointing an out-of-town lister. So
Yes.
we will have to add the treasurer back in here, and we can find she can be an assistant treasurer, maybe, I don't even
We-
know. That has to be
we-
researched, and we can talk
we-
about that in executive or
Yes,
later
we're
on.
going.
Renter a closet space here at the office.
What's that?
Renter a closet space here at the office. Resident.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The hard part about that is, and everyone who's tried it, I think
Treasurer?
the treasurer's position. Even as a select board member, I made a passing comment to another resident that I happened to be in a phone discussion that, I've gotta end this conversation as much as I'd like to go on, because I gotta finish something before I go to bed. And the comment was, there's not that much to do as a select board member.
Okay.
And I was sitting there thinking, they don't have any idea.
They don't.
And,
Oh,
and I
I've said
think
that
all of
before.
all the people that have volunteered to be treasurer, I think, have had an image that it can't be that difficult.
Just kind of.
But when you find out there's taxes, there's payroll, there's
Yeah.
accounts payable,
Mhm.
there's different accounts money comes out of, and where's it
It's
going, and that
receivable,
there's
yeah,
gotta
it's
be a
all that.
correlation, it's a big job. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's just, it's a matter, I think I'd rather tell somebody up front, it's not easy
Right,
to see that they still wanna give it a whirl to be helpful to the community they live in.
right, rather than go. the
Rather than
route that
have
we
it
go.
beyond in a month quit, is a way I'd like to pursue that. And again, I'll just,
You're
whatever I
right.
come up with, I'll send to both of you, obviously.
I agree, 100%.
Thank you.
And I got just last point, that reminds me, I've said this before, back in 2014, when we first came on the board. I had no clue. Oh, this thing, oh, sure, I could contribute to that. I don't mind. I'm retired now, a couple of years. Okay, this is great. Had no idea.
It's a lot of work.
No idea what it entailed.
We're
And
proud
the
of
first-
our little
It
town.
was the first meeting, the second meeting, had to break up a fight.
Have a fight in the parking lot.
Yeah. Uh-huh,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, well, let's move along then.
So much for that. You don't have to put that in, Peter.
So the open select board seat and the administrative assistance discussion is that we will try to reach out to the community and share with them our needs and concerns and
Yes.
work from there.
I've been kind of making little notes on the pad on my desk, just of things, and I hopefully you guys are too, on things that someone else could be doing that would help me and the board in general, so that if we are looking for someone, we can accurately quote, it's gonna be 10 hours, or it's gonna be 15, or it's gonna be 20.
I've been keeping a journal,
Okay,
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's easier for you too. Me, I'm in a little bit different
You
situation.
make a lot of phone calls.
I do make a lot of phone calls, but I have to. I mean, I'm not being a control freak about it, but it's just, you'll see when I explain to you in a few
Right.
minutes why.
yeah. So
All right, well,
I
it's
think
hard
last
to-
thing I wanted to do is hire somebody for 20 hours and find out it's only gonna take 10. That's the reason for the planning part.
I think you're right.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move on then to new business. When I was here last week, sitting with Judy, she pointed out, and it's not the first time, that the two chairs at the listers' desks are really in poor shape, and one of them makes you sit sort of funny because there's a rod in the middle. And
Uh-huh.
we rolled in a couple of these big chairs, and she said, thank you, but no, those are board chairs, they're not ergonomically good for sitting
Okay.
and doing desk work. So she
Okay.
wanted to know who does purchasing for things like office chairs. And so I said, I'm not sure if this is something we can ask the town clerk to do, or if this is something the select board orders or what, but this is, that makes sense. The chairs, you can go take a look at there. And I think the treasurer, the town clerk and assistant town clerk, their chairs are also pretty squishy, but they haven't got another second request
But
from
they
the
don't
listers.
work the same way.
Well, looking for suggestions or?
Oh,
Yeah, how do
Okay, I would suggest we leave contact the town clerk and assistant town clerk and the listers and the treasury people and ask, do they want a new chair? It seems in our opinion, they should have one.
Yeah.
And then Staples has
Sales.
15, 20 different styles
Well,
there.
I agree with
And we
everything.
have an account with them, because that's where we get some of our
Okay.
stuff from. I don't know if the credit card has been used in the past, but ask them to go down and decide what
Yes,
they would prefer for each one of them.
yes.
And then,
Wholeheartedly agree.
I think this is something that the select board really should govern. And
Okay.
let them get back to us and let us
And
know
then we
what
purchase
what
it.
the model is, what the brand is, what the cost is. And see if we
Okay.
can cut a deal for 4 or 3 or whatever,
Okay.
to get a better deal if possible, ordering by volume. And
Well, how many do we need?
and I wouldn't mind going down and pick them up if anyone else is
Well, I have a
involved.
truck too, so
There you go.
you don't have a truck, do you?
No,
Well, I do.
I got 2 arms.
All right, so,
I was gonna say something, but I think you hit me.
okay, so,
Mark's got a
the
truck.
two,
Mark's got a truck too.
Yeah.
And I got, I'm sorry, I got comments on mine right now. Go ahead.
there's
I'm gonna
the
get
two
spanked.
chairs at the listers seat need to be replaced. They've been asked for it twice since I've been here.
Okay.
The treasurer, the town clerk and assistant town clerk haven't asked. What would you like me to do? Again, there's a lot, I don't know, do you want me to write a letter? Do you want me to call somebody?
Well, you got a lot on your plate. I'm doing a lot of running. Did you contact the
I'll
people?
call him. I'll call him tomorrow, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday.
Thursday.
I'll call Guy in the morning and say, we think it's a great idea, that if it's needed, you go down, take a look, have them go down, take a look and see what they like and maybe.
Not only that, you can go online and look at what they have.
That's right, but
So
they have
don't
to
even
see
go
it.
down, but they want to sit in them, which is
That's
recommended.
what I'm saying.
And I would estimate the price range to be $100, $200 per chair. So you're looking at $800 and $400.
It depends on what the guy here, what the thing he shares.
These were like $250,
Uh-huh.
Okay,
But these are
but these are conference
above and
chairs.
beyond.
yeah.
These are conference chairs, these are
Yeah.
not, work chairs.
So
All right, so Bruce, you'll follow up on
I'll
that?
call Guy and see what I
All
can
right,
work out.
excellent.
Thank you.
All right, road supervisor, we'll move on to Mark's road supervisor report. One of the things we talked about before was looking at a timesheet. I typed up a simple one, but this one looks pretty nice. This is one that guys, says possible for Mark Bills. I'm gonna let you look at this. I don't know. You can make tons of copies of it, but it's something where you might be able to put down and then hand it in every week or 2 weeks, or once you get a page filled.
But no more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, that looks pretty simple.
So if I made a few copies, would you at least try this to see how workable it is?
Sure.
All right, Mark, I'll make copies before you leave tonight. I'll give you copies and we'll leave this here as a template and see
Okay.
how it works for you,
All
okay?
right, sure.
All right, excellent. All right, culvert leaf blower, it's been signed. I asked Judy to fax over or email over the signed quote with a request to call you when it came in. There's been some lag, either not receiving that information or what, so I wrote again to Judy. But it should be should be ready. I
Okay.
think I'm gonna even see if we have a check for them today in here, so
Alright.
we might be real ready.
So,
I know-
so between our next meeting, if everything gets finalized at HP Fairfields, the salesman is satisfied with,
There's a check in here to pay for the blower tonight,
oh,
so
Okay.
it's been, we're ready to go. I'm gonna sign it if we approve it, and we can mail it everything at once.
all right, and if that's all good with everybody, and there's a chance that I can go and pick it up.
Yep,
is that something
with the
you
check.
can- Okay.
Yep, I can leave it, sign it tonight, leave it at the office. You can call Guy up and say, can I come pick up the check? I'm gonna go up and pick up the equipment.
Okay,
All right?
sounds good.
All right, good. Also, I talked to Jay Wilson and about the welding of that specialty. He says if you know how to weld,
Yeah.
you can order the steel, have it delivered to their garage, and you can use their equipment to modify a base as needed. Just contact Jay Wilson and
Sure.
he'd be happy to oblige your.
Great.
That'd be
You're
great,
welcome.
yeah,
Great.
I mean, that'll be very helpful. I was thinking that the way it's set up, I could probably just tow it, the first time or two.
Sure.
You're not a
And
well?
then I've got some welding.
Oh, baby. Oh, what are you doing?
But yeah, we'll get it and use it, and then we'll figure out.
As
what's
what you
gonna-
can do.
Yeah,
We'll put it on your new machine.
sure, yeah.
All right, and then I'm just going on here, and then I'll let you talk.
Okay.
So, summer calendar for project work. I think Stan had pointed out at some point that what agency is requesting us to have an actual plan, forward-looking summer plan. What are we going to do this summer? What
I
actual
believe-
culverts, what actual things?
I
So,
think that was the Mrgp,
okay, that's what it was.
is that?
There's two different times this year when we need to advise what projects need to be indicated. And by the 25th of June, we need to make application for V-Trans for grants in aid. And just today, I think I got an email that Mark was kind enough to forward along from Jeff Nugent, where he's indicating that by the middle of this month, he is going to have met with the road supervisors, of which our town would be one. But it was a little unclear. I wasn't sure whether the application needed to be submitted or whether the work needed to be done by the 25th of June. Because the phraseology was, I'm thinking, what do we have that we are going to have done by the 25th of June? And there isn't anything.
No.
So I'm not sure. It sounded like he was a little bit stressed out when he wrote the letter based on one of his sentences. That he made a joke that was, I think, serious. He's got a lot of work on his plate. And then there's, by the 30th of September, we need to have a grant application completed for stormwater and highway mitigation types of work, which is, I think, an Mrgp kind of thing. Stormwater runoff is their thing. So those are the two application deadlines, and I will clarify with Jeff tomorrow by email. It's just what it is he's looking for, so that we don't miss that.
Very good. All right, Mark, I'm sorry, go ahead, now tell us what.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to stand there, so when Jeff meets with us, he knows that we need to complete the 15% road segments that need to comply with the Clean Water Act. So hopefully Jeff can clarify with us which of those segments could get done and how much. The grant's probably not going to cover all of them. It might only be a couple of them, and then we'll be responsible for others. But it asks if we're upgrading culverts, which we will be, and whether we do them on the town's time, which we plan to change them out anyway, but some of those may fall under the grant title. So hopefully we can clarify that up soon and get the grant.
I was glad that Mark had asked us a little while ago about culverts, because one of the things that Jeff Nugent mentioned in the email today was, hopefully you've ordered your culverts that you need ahead of time based on what we've experienced
Got it.
last year. And I was sitting there thinking, right on, Mark.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that, the wait last summer was a lengthy one, so hopefully we're on schedule for that. Okay, so been just monitoring the roads on daily checks. Heavy winds, some rains, and always debris in the road to be removed. I've taken down the Putney Mountain Road closed signage that we had up for the winter months and put that back in the shed. I've made contact with HP Fairfield salesman a couple of times. Seems like we're now on the same page all the way around. Also was forwarded the tree warden school email that was sent to the town office, and I signed up for that. And Monday night was the first online Zoom meeting, so I was joined in on that, and we had some really good talks and topics with 7 other road. I think there was a couple road foremen, most of them were just tree wardens. And so this class is a online class with 3 Zoom meetings, but it's you can ask questions and they just give talks about the emerald ash borer attacking all of their ash trees and what towns are doing about it. So gaining a lot of good valuable information about that. There's invasive species, anything that comes in our right of way, we're talking about. So I'll be able to update the town with some valuable information when I get done with that. Got the email from Jeff Nugent that he's gonna meet with us soon about the grants. I called down, I think Dot forwarded me the phone number to Triple T. And I called and introduced myself, told them that I would be taking over the exchange with the recycle bins, and it was pretty simple there. And we Friday morning, I monitored the inside of the recycle bin, see that it was still quite roomy. So come Monday morning, appeared to be full. So I called and had it exchanged and did a little cleanup around the outside. There's always somebody leaving something.
Thank you.
Talked to Tom Brooks about Green Up Day coming Saturday. We made plans to do our usual cleanup. And as I'm going around doing all of this different stuff there, I've got an ongoing list of accomplishments that will take place, some of it with the rented equipment. When that comes to town, it will be after our fiscal year. It will be in early July. And I still have a long and ongoing list of to-dos to accomplish throughout the year that I keep in mind and try to fill up as the weather and time allows. So that's
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate everything. Moving on. Highways and grants, Mr. Noga.
Yes, there is another one of these forms that was signed at the last meeting, which is a slight different form than the one that was signed. This one is called an MRGP amendment form. It requires the $240 fee, and I have filled everything in, and it requires your signature, after which we will I'll go through the process before I end tonight. I was going to send these in to the various people with V-Trans. And I went back and looked at some of the emails that were sent to me by the various department heads. They prefer to have these done on the internet. So what I'm going to do is, after you sign this one, I'm going to couple it with the one that you signed last time and scan them in and send both of them to the treasurer. I went online to help Melissa to see what was going to be done, because I feel as a select board member, I didn't want to dump on the treasurer's department. So I was going to put this information on myself. But it turns out there's a state portal that is utilized, and I'm suspecting that the treasurer has the PIN or code to access it. And it made reference to the fact, when I read one of the emails, that you can sign on, fill out the form, quote unquote, and pay all in one motion. So she's probably going to do one series for one form, one for the other. I will provide her with everything that she needs. I did indicate that I tried to do it, but I found I couldn't, and I hated to bother at work again. So I thought I'd wait till after tonight, till I have both forms. I still have the other one. I got this one. This evening or first thing in the morning, send them to her and indicate that it looks like, I'm sorry to say, you've got to do it. I can't help it on this matter. So that she will do that and pay them at the same time. The one question is, this $240 one was supposed to have been done by December 31st of 2020. It was not. The one on the other form that you signed last time is not due till the 30th of June. So the question I guess I have is, do we want to pay this one now and the other one in June, or do you want to pay both of them now? Yeah, does the board have any feelings? May not make any difference, given the total is $740.
No.
Okay, so I will let her know that we've decided to let her allow them or authorize payment now for both of them. And we'll take care of that then, that way. So here is the form for your signature. Anyone who wants a copy? I have a folder started on the roads and bridges standards that we did last time. I have a folder started, but I'm gonna wait till this is signed before I leave it here tomorrow, I guess, when I come in on Friday. Before it's available in the file cabinet.
Very
Thank you,
good.
Dot.
All right.
Now we're gonna be golden, I suspect.
Excellent.
Let's see. I was here and filed the equipment loan file in the file cabinet with Judy the other day, last Friday. So, no, it was Monday this week, I'm sorry, a couple days ago.
Mhm.
So that is now up to date. We took the two that had been closed and put them in the closed section of that drawer. So right now, there's just the two, the sand shed and then the equipment one, and that one will be over with shortly as well, so it'll just be the equipment one. I have not contacted the vendor who gave us the on-site inspection quote from Burlington regarding inspecting the construction of the sand and salt shed. And the reason was I didn't get until Friday afternoon from WRC, when the Regional Commission, the quote that was given and the hourly wage.
Okay.
What I need to do is look at when does overtime kick in? Because it's right now 9 hours a day for 6 weeks, which is 45 hours. Is it 40 hours that overtime kicks in?
Used to be.
Okay, that's what my thought is. So at $90 an hour for the guy that's gonna be there for the 9th hour every day over that time frame, we're looking at $135 and not $90. So the number they quoted is wrong. It's underquoted. And I don't have any supervision payroll for the job after the start introductory period. They'll be supposedly overlooking his shoulder during the work. No one is looking over his shoulder to finalize the paperwork, and I can't believe that for a firm that's that. So I wanna, in the conversation, find out, is this quote right? Am I looking at interpreting something wrong here? And could you finalize it? And then the big question is gonna be, after we come to a number, is just finding out, okay, now these numbers are valid for how long? Because at the end of the year, if we find that given interest rate increases, et cetera, the costs are coming down, we're gonna look at doing this project in next not fiscal year, but calendar year. Will they hold the numbers for that time frame until then, or do they want to just simply rebid later on, if they want to rebid at all? So I'm just trying to look at this in as thorough and complete a process as I can.
Okay.
So that will be happening then. I did send to Mark and Archie a form that I got off the internet that I have here somewhere that shows the summary of the projects through the V-Trans people. And Megan, when she was here, she told us how many of these road segments we're supposed to have done. And it shows the number on that form. I sent it to you and Mark, you and Archie, to get feedback on, do you know which ones we're talking about here? And it looks like what we have to do is wait until Jeff Nugent comes to solidify that process. And then we'll know what grants we need to pursue.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I guess in terms of what we owe and these two documents that need to be sent in, we're gonna be golden after they're received by the state as in terms of getting the least amount of match possible, and we're gonna be up to date and current. I didn't know, since I had created this, if anyone had any questions about the amount of the retention of money amount and how it's calculated. Because we had voted 28,
I would,
and I
yes,
don't know if we need to modify it, because we didn't say up to 28, we said 28.
I would leave it as is.
All right,
And I would like to see this be a place in the ARPA file for the treasurer to reference if anyone has a question about the way the money was calculated. I thought this was ideal. Thank you so much. I'm
You're welcome.
very appreciative of this. Create a nice neat package. Okay.
and this doesn't explain why, one of the documents I'd hoped to have for tonight, which I didn't get to because of some of the emails that we received recently, and some other things I've been working on above and beyond this is that I wanted to put a brief overview letter, cover document, in addition to this, indicating that we became aware at which August meeting last year that Mark was contemplating doing something other, what date, what meeting we voted to make counter offers, et cetera, and how it all came out.
September.
So it was, well, yeah, we
It
did it
was
just
July-
before.
July and August it was.
August was the
Was it?
one that we voted to make the changes effective
Right.
September
September
1st. So I've got that date down and I've got a copy
Okay.
of those things. But I
Yes,
want to
now-
specifically
now-
cite them
Now it's fine.
and rationalize why we did what we did, not in
Absolutely.
great detail.
No, but just attach.
But
the
just so
minutes.
that if we ever get audited, it makes sense.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, so that's,
Okay.
that's what I've done on that. And I'm not sure there's anything else for me to go over now. I think that's it. Oh, the calendar of events I will have done for the next meeting. I'm sorry. The other thing that I want to let you and other people who might be listening know is that back when I first took over the grant stuff, there were 2 spreadsheet type formats documenting the grants that we've had, the status of them, who provided them, the begin date, end date, the dollar amount of the grant, the match amount, the total, et cetera, et cetera. I will be updating both of those spreadsheets for the next meeting so that everything in terms of grants, it will be completely up to date and current.
Fabulous.
So
I
that's.
like
what I've
up
been-
to date and current. That's good. Good
Yeah,
words.
yeah.
Can't slide that.
So I guess with that, that's all I have to say, and I appreciate your patience and listening.
It's okay, you'll be having that patience.
Thanks. All right, next is town clerk report. I have no report. I did put down any other arbor related requests from the clerk. He has requested that we consider the COT system for land records use, and we will get some information from Mark Kirk later on. He also provided me the information who's current on dog licenses so that I can keep that in my records. All right, next going to town treasurer report. Everybody should have gotten the April monthly budget and balance sheet emailed out to you from Melissa Brown. Anybody have any questions? You can contact Melissa about that. That was good.
That was great.
I'm gonna move into this
Not arguing about that.
select board chair report. It says possible absence for the May 18th meeting. I probably will not be able to sit for or even stand for a long meeting since we do have long. However, if the agenda is modified in such a way so that all the voting spots come early, or we have a special meeting where it's just voting on things that we have to vote on, so you have 3 people, I'm flexible in that respect. So
You and I can work that out when I get back from the Cape. When do I get back? I get back on the 13th.
so,
I'm only going till the 13th, so we're talking the 18th. By that time, you have your operation on Monday, right?
Yeah.
So.
I'm not gonna be much of a person to have company for Brook.
I know.
Okay,
I know that.
All right.
So you and I can work out what you want.
okay,
All right. You can either do it by email or talk to me, but I'll be home on the 14th.
okay.
Well, actually, the 13th. Right, we'll touch bases.
So do we, unless there's something important, do we need to have a meeting on the 18th, or should we just let it rest and say if something of an emergency nature comes up? We need the 15 days to answer those bids, but that seems to be the only pressing
I'm gonna
item.
call them up tomorrow and
Okay.
tell them that we've tabled it for further review, and does that mean that you're gonna withdraw your bid if we don't get back to you in 15 days? I'll say, I'll let you all know what I find out.
That's up to you, Doc. That's your call, because you usually dream up.
I mean, what we could do is, either hold it, and I
We
think
can do that.
there's a term use of non-voting, but just informational sharing essentially in an open
Or,
forum. for the
or we
public.
can just go June 1st. That's up to you guys. What do you think? Why don't we look at the agenda, what you have for consecutive agenda, and then we can wing it. We can play it by
Yeah,
ear.
could be a special meeting last week of the month if we needed to.
Yeah, sure.
That would be,
Yeah, by that time, you'll be
Whatever
feeling
works.
better.
all right.
We'll see.
So, all right, so that's it. One of the things I added during the amending the minutes was I got a phone call from the people down at Liberty Tax. They said they were contacting town clerks, and Guy Tanza gave me your phone number because you're the select board chair. Does the town of Brookline intend to enforce the 8% penalty for the homestead rebate if people did not file their homestead rebate, there's a penalty of 8% of the tax. And I said, well, I don't know. And it turns out that annually, we're supposed to decide this, and it's never been brought to the select board to decide it. I do remember at one point a resident asked for leniency in this respect, and Mr. Jansen told me that if you do it for one, you have to do it for the whole town, and he usually does it for the whole town. So it should be something that the select board decides, but
I remember that. That was like 3-4 years ago.
correct. So what do we do? What should
Don't
I
change
tell
what we're
them?
doing. Don't change what we're doing,
Okay, well,
right?
it's not on the agenda to vote. I meant to put it on the agenda. What do I tell the tax people for their clients? The select board is considering suspending the 8% penalty at a future meeting. Because we can't,
Okay.
Or
We
even say
can't
this,
vote on it because it's
we're
not.
not gonna change our attitude, right? We're gonna do what the town clerk has done in the past.
Right.
that should have come to the select board in the
It should have.
past. It
I
should
should-
always come to the select
Select
board
board
to
first.
determine the tax.
I would bet there are very
Penalties.
few people who are involved in that kind of scenario.
Pardon me?
I would assume there are only a very limited number of people in that.
Right,
area.
correct, probably a limited number of people, but yeah, it's usually a.
However you wanna say, it's fine.
Yeah, me too.
Okay,
As long as, you know, I'm gonna state right now, would be my intent to support the behavior of the town in the past, but doing it officially this time.
yes, okay. All right, so that's the only thing I have here.
I would assume you're feeling the same way.
I do.
All right.
Consensus.
Past practice has been to eliminate that burden on the taxpayers.
That sounds
All right,
good.
so we'll move on here. No, okay, again, considering that they may not have a quorum for voting discussion, but they can determine that another time. Next, we'll talk about the building commissioner report. Bruce?
All right, I got some stuff, but I think I can go through it pretty quickly. Couple of things that I found out. The first thing, that I think I might have mentioned this before, but I think it was March, there was a Vermont Legislature Weekly report that comes out every week that said that the state of Vermont was gonna get $2 billion in infrastructure money, and 3.2 million of it was earmarked towards energy replacements, weather stripping, weatherization, and boiler replacement for municipalities, schools, etc. I haven't forgotten about that. I read you that report at one point several months ago. So I went back about 10 days ago, cut to the chase and wanted to find out what's going on, because I hear everything about ARPA, nothing about infrastructure money. And I know that that was really good for us. So what I did was, as I looked into it about ARPA money for Vermont, and I saw a VLCT meeting back in December, and I cut it to the chase where they were specifically talking about the ARPA money and said, you need to go to Public Service Board of State of Vermont, which I did. I called this woman that works out of home with the babies, and she said, Efficiency Vermont's handling it. I said, okay. So I called Chris Greenwood, whom I've talked to about 4 times now. We're having quite the relationship at this point for all the things I've been dealing with. And he said it hasn't been doled out yet. You have to wait and see. They haven't really gotten any information as to when that $3.2 million that's earmarked towards what I said hasn't been earmarked by the legislature for them to get it yet. And I'm guessing soon, because I believe this month is when the legislative session ends. That remains to be seen. So where I'm going with this is, so as far as spending money on the school, there all has to be shook out. We have ARPA money, we have possible infrastructure money, we have grants, we have rebates that are available to us, and I'm taking my time. I'm finding out where things lay before I tell you we should spend money on a boiler, heat pumps, whatever. Okay. Now, a little bit about the ARPA. We talked about that list that we had at that special meeting that Dot made out that I contributed to, which is a great list. And I'm going to use that list to make a prioritization schedule and try to put what I perceive as numbers against it, so that you guys can consider what we what we could use the money for, but I ain't rushing it. And I'm being methodical and accurate with our leverage, and I love using that term, our leverage, because a lot of this money, we can use this little amount to get a lot of this amount. Example, the wheeled excavator as an example. But anyway, that's where I'm going with expenses on ARPA and expenses on Suzie partially. Now, last Wednesday, the 27th, I did have a meeting with Suzie and Olivia. I think I told you all about it, about consideration. What I did was I briefed them on what I wanted to do with the building and kind of what we were talking about. I was talking about here just a minute ago, a little bit, about things I'd like to do to help that building improve. And I think I said that last meeting, so I don't have to get into that again. But it was really interesting to see if they would consent to moving forward with the details on signing a loan for solar panels. And I got a message Monday morning, they're into it. I didn't think they would be. It was really 50-50, but they're definitely into it. Now, what I'm doing at this point is treading water. And I told them that. You're hurting.
Make sure that,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, make sure you speak up.
Okay, I'm treading water. You're hurting. I'm going away for a week. This is what I'm doing. I want 2 to 3 estimates on anything I do related to heat pumps, panels, or boilers consideration. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable at the beginning with the way it all started out with the information I received. So I'm tightening it up. I'm going to tighten it up real good. I'm assuming by when I get to the end of it, I'll know exactly how much panel output is going to be put out relatively, what it's going to cost. Same with the air-to-air heat pumps. I'm not comfortable with anything that I've seen so far, so I'm going to get comfortable first before I say, select board, we should spend money on $80,000 on heat pumps. Of course, I'm being facetious. After all that's done, at that point in time, and I also told Olivia and Suzie that we are treading water. That's a term I use while I get some of this work done, and it's going to take a little time. And I said that because I was they wanted me to know, they wanted me to answer when they wanted a response back. I said, well, kind of soon, because I was talking about the interest rates, and we're not going to be able to worry about that because they're going up today. I think 0.5%. So that's
Water under the bridge.
water under the bridge. Okay, so now as far as if we go further with this, after gotten all these details together, we decide, okay, this is a good idea. We can work, we can try to work this out with Suzie about the panels and everything. Those details have to be worked out legally and with consultation. Obviously, she called her CPA. So obviously she's seen that this is going to work. I mean, it's pretty, don't have to get too long-winded about that, but as we gave her money the first time with the, straighten that out. We didn't increase her lease. We gave her a break on her heat because of what happened with the heating system. And it's going to be really interesting to me to see if she would go along with this proposal I was making. And it's a win-win. She saves a huge amount of money. They said, okay, they were into it. Anyway, move on. I'm waiting on code assessment on replacing the boilers. I met with them a week ago. Chris said he would be giving me an estimate pretty shortly. If we chose to go that route, again, I want at least Arc Mechanical or somebody else, 1 or 2 more estimates to see where we're at with that. I was very enthralled by watching Hiram Knapp, who's fixed the building, and Chris in the discussion. It's really fun watching people talk Greek and you don't have a clue what they're talking about, but they were into it. But anyway, that's what I'm doing with that. So quotes for that, quotes for everything before we move forward on anything. Now, things that I see that we need to do immediately. It came to my attention, I should have realized that we had a limb breakdown off of one of those pines behind the dumpster and hit the building last year. Was it last year? Mark, was about 1.5 years of them. Yeah.
I was thinking a year, but.
Okay, well, the guy from the solar company, when he first looked at it, said, that tree's dead. hello, Bruce, you think you would have noticed it? But what I'm driving at is that tree is pointing right at the building. So I'm recommending that we get those two pines down. We can talk about that. I don't know how we're gonna do that. I got a question for you. If they were cut down in sections, can the wheeled excavator work that and put it in a pile so it can burn it? And da-da-da?
Very easy.
Okay, so the only thing I have to do, if you're all into it, is make an arrangement to get those damn things down, because it's just a matter of time. That tree is not in a good way. And what started all this is those trees would cover potential solar gain. There's two there, and then there's a cherry tree out in the field a little bit that was interfering with the solar gain. Getting a little ahead of ourselves with that. But the pines we should consider doing something about, because I really don't want to see that pine on the side of the building after what we've done to it. Okay, next up, I did that. Okay. And I did that. Two other things. I mentioned you last time about the mold in the basement. I haven't done it yet, but I'd like to look at the cost of one or two dehydrators.
Dehumidifiers,
What did I say?
dehydrator.
Oh, gosh. I wrote down.
That
dehydrator.
can be used to dry food.
I have one at home. That's how bad I am. Sorry, I'll get your
Just wanna make sure
prices.
you're using great tools.
I'll get your price and we can talk about it down the road. This is not a tear. I'm just talking about the expenses I'm seeing that we should consider, work that we should do. The second thing, and I'm waiting for Mark Onion, the electrician, to call me back again, that we've already I've been in consultation with him about the heat pumps and doing the lighting on the building, changing them to LEDs. I know you're all gonna want an idea of numbers, and I don't have dollars, but I will shortly, but this is under the incidental purchase part of the purchase policy. So we're not spending $7,000 or anything like that. It's gonna be over $1,000, but it's not gonna be anything like that. So I need to tighten that up and make a proposal to you all. We think it's gonna cost between X amount and X amount. This is what we're gonna do, so on and so forth. And then you all can badger me on what I didn't do, and we can agree upon it. Okay. Any questions so far?
Nope.
Okay,
Is Mark on the vendor list?
pardon me?
Mark,
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because no, he's not.
should he be?
Should he be? He has
You know,
insurance.
It's funny, this vendor list is not really a list of everybody that we use in town. It's for
Permanent people.
emergency calls.
I
If we have, and we have to contact somebody very quickly, they should be the ones on an emergency list.
Okay.
But we have electricians on, for emergency, we have one or two.
You have Larson, right?
But, we can, it's a living document, it can be changed, but it's not just a list of every vendor we use.
Okay, so I can hire him for incidental purchase as long as we agree upon it. And he does have insurance, because I've already asked him. So he's at this point, he's working on semi-retired. He's a couple of days a week, and we've already done quite a bit. And this has to be a little bit in consultation, not to get off around too much, with the daycare in terms of the lighting and what makes them happy and how that works in light of everything, Okay.
Stan has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, on that infrastructure money
Yes.
and looking at whalers,
Mhm.
I'm just thinking, you're doing a wonderful job, and I really appreciate it as a member on board with you and as a citizen, all those angles you're looking at on this. Is the fact that it is town-owned but used commercially, leased to someone, does that affect the ability or the amount to get money from the infrastructure, as opposed to being
I see what you're saying.
town office furnace? Yeah, I don't know if that affects
I
it or
don't
not.
know, and I doubt it. I don't know if I'm right,
Okay,
but I doubt it.
but you will keep checking it.
Oh, yeah. The way it was expressed in that legislative report was, this is money for municipalities and schools. Daycares weren't represented in that, but that's what they mean. But that has to be shook out. I have to get to the details of, but I'm fortunate that I've got that real good a relationship with Chris Greenwood, and I can make sure. He also made a point about something that I need to call him back about. It was a very tail end of our conversation. It has nothing to do with this, but it had to do with getting air into the building. The air exchangers, and I didn't follow up with them, but I'm gonna get back to that because I want to know about our legality as to whether we have to have those air-to-air exchangers going. You know what I'm talking about? The one in the upstairs, the one in the
Well, I
downstairs?
know Jordan Dano, who was a nurse, and she was involved with a lot of ongoing work. I think it was the high school, it might have been the elementary schools as well. And there was a requirement because it was a school scenario where there was required a certain amount of
Air
air exchange to meet the COVID standards. And now, it's a good point that you're bringing up, does it also apply to daycare?
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's a question for infrastructure that would be
go.
also interesting to know.
Mhm. And you and I discussed this, I think, a little while ago. It had to do with the amount of kids in the daycare for something. I
That was the
think.
water.
Correct. And they met the criteria, so we had to be good boys and girls and take care of their water. Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Purification.
Now, all this being done, and I gave them specifics, I'm talking about Susie and Olivia, about what I wanted to do with weatherization, capping of the ceiling. I gave them a grand, what I found, what I'm interested in doing, the lighting and so on. And I also asked them if they felt that they lost business because of what happened with the heat. And she said, maybe if we did any, not a lot that she thought. I said, okay, but why I'm bringing that up is because I think that we're showing them by doing these things that we've already done and maybe starting the lighting that this is important to the entire plan, but it's all important to the relationship with us and them. So it shows that we're serious about helping them with their energy costs. And of course, we're selfishly into it to improve the building. I mean, that's obvious. And Olivia knows that, but I've always done it, and she knows that, in conjunction with helping out that daycare as well. Just a minute. Now, Stephanie emailed me the other day and said that she's the person that runs Susie's now. Olivia really takes care of a bunch of them. She's like the overseer, I guess. I call them hired gun. I won't say that. But anyway, she said she wants to have a little flea market out there on the 14th. And what she's trying to do is raise a little money towards their center garden playground equipment. I would imagine that all that taking down of that other stuff behind the dumpster has something to do with that, but I didn't ask her that. And what they want to do is anybody wants to put a table in there for a $10 donation, can sell whatever they want on the tables.
May 14th,
On
correct?
May 14th. I think it's 10 to 2, but don't hold me to that. And I instructed her to maybe to talk. I also CC'd, I think I CC'd you guys. I CC'd Julie, just to see.
I said the same thing to Olivia, right, to Julie, here's her email.
Yeah, and I told her to contact Julie with the one, or Front Porch Forum or whatever, to advertise a little bit. Okay, that's enough for that. I think I'm just about done. Praise the Lord. So I'm working a bit. Don't have a lot of concrete answers for you, but one more thing. On May 23rd, I got Integrated Solar coming. He's pretty excited about giving us a proposal on panels, and I'm not stopping with him. So I'll have 2 proposals. So also a solar company by the name of Sunnyside Solar. I think I'm going to call him too as well. I'm looking if it's necessary, and I think we can do a 4th one if I need to. I'll do it. I mean, I want to get everybody's input, and I sit back and listen. You tell me what this place needs, and then I can judge what I think we're getting out of the production of panels, how much production we're getting out of the heat pumps. I've learned a little bit about that, and I won't go any more long-winded on that. I'll tighten that up for the next time. You can see where I'm going with all this.
Okay, well, thank you very much, a very thorough report.
That's
All
it.
right, we're gonna move on now to communications. I just want to say I had an email exchange with Stephen Johns from DV Fiber. I asked them again if they having any suggested budgetary or per capita requests for fiber networking for phase 2. He said he would be getting back to us later on in the year, or later on in the next couple of months. They're working out some suggested and some formulas to determine, what it is. And then he would be glad to come and meet in person or by Zoom to explain the situation. You talked about the May 14th Sunny Lane, Susie's Little Peanuts Market Day, a couple of other pieces of mail. We got something from the Moore Free Library, which is a request for donations. I'll pass that around. Moore Free Library. We got a letter from Rescue Inc. That says, please find the attached agreement for service for the next 3 years effective July 1st. The contract page requires a municipal representative signatures and then that to be returned to us by June 30th. Once received, we'll forward a signed copy for your records. As I'm sure you're aware, the town of Brattleboro has decided to drop out of our regional system. This will have a long-lasting impact on Rescue Inc. and the regional EMS model. However, we are committed to providing the same exceptional service that you have received for the last 56 years. We invite a select board member of your town to a discussion with our board of trustees on a long-term financial and operational considerations of Brattleboro's decision. That meeting will be on Thursday, May 19th, 6:30 p.m. at Brattleboro Rescue. We don't have a representative any longer for rescue. So if anybody is able to go, that would be good. I'm going to sign the contract because it is something that we've done annually. So Blue Ink, as we continue to pay them. And print.
Did they say what time on the 19th?
It's at 6:30 p.m. 541 Canal Street, Rescue Inc.
Yeah.
On Thursday.
Okay,
These
I will
five.
try to make that.
Oh, wonderful. All right, so I will leave this with Guy and he can send it in and
Do you know if that in the past has indicated a dollar amount that the town commits to?
yes. That there was no rate, there was no change, and next year I think it was going up by 1%. Population of 540, the assessment is $29.50. The total assessment is $15,930 for the year. The monthly invoiced amount will be $1,327.50 for 2022-23. It will be in 2023-24. The monthly amount will change from $1,327.50. It will go up to $1,341. And in 2024-25, the assessment is $30.10 per person, and that contract will be for $1,354.50 a month. So, and I will let you take a look at this as, I did sign it, but you can all take a look at that as well. Continuing on, Coda and Coda sent, it says, Dear Town Office of Brookline, we made it. We persisted through another long, cold New England winter. Thank you for trusting us. Due to the current world fuel market instability and global turbulence that is now going on and unpredictable, we have decided to delay the start of our contract season by 1 month. Our hope is that this pause ensures more reasonable pricing for everyone. This means that your regular 10-month contract will now start in July and will be an 11-month contract from July 1st through May 31st, 2023. This adjustment is to help keep budget payments low. If you have a pre-buy or another type of contract, you will receive your new contract in June instead of May. You can expect your 2022-23 contract to arrive in the mail in June. If you have any further questions, please call us. Warm regards, Casey Coda. I wanted to see that. And this we did. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go to pay orders. There was no payroll warrant available emailed or in the drawer for us to review, so there is no payroll warrant for tonight. We do have an accounts payable warrant. I'm going to read the information and pass it around. Because no one has gotten this by email either. So all right, start during the discussion part, I'll let you look at.
Okay.
I'd like to make an emotion to approve accounts payable warrant number 2243 dated May 4th, 2022 in the amount of $14,763.70. May I have a second? Seconded by Bruce for discussion. I'm going to pass it around so you all can take a look at it.
I'm good. How'd you be going home last time?
Not too bad. I got there eventually.
2 minutes at the end before close.
Okay, do you want our signature on here?
Oh, yeah.
I have the motion, okay, so we have a motion on the floor, it's seconded, there's no further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving payroll warrant
I can sign.
2243,
2243 in the amount of
$14,763.70.
$14,763.14.
70 cents.
70 cents.
70.
Oh, you got it?
Yep.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Let me check the minutes.
yeah, let's go. School executive session.
Set agenda for the regular select board meeting on May 18th to be determined if we're going to have the meeting or postpone it. The only thing I have on my agenda right now is for June purchase policy review for changes. I don't know what else. Oh, we also have to do the paving contracts.
And that has to be.
That's what I. was
Okay,
thinking.
and Mark, go ahead.
The paving,
Bids.
I'm thinking we should do it up sooner than later, just
Okay.
because they fill in their schedules up for the summer.
Okay,
And I wouldn't wanna miss out on,
right.
getting somebody in town, so if we could get Archie's opinion to answer some of the questions that clarify.
Would you reach out to Archie?
I
I will
will.
leave the paving contracts in the select board's mailbox.
Okay.
And if you can get Archie to come in and sit down with you, you have a key, and
Yeah.
look over that, and then maybe have Archie call or email us.
Okay.
And then we could,
If you want. to.
Yeah, because I just feel the sooner we can
Okay.
say, pick one, get it back,
right,
it would benefit us through the summer.
right.
Doc, what do you want? You want to do a quick select board meeting before you?
Well,
I don't know. what's-
oh,
Okay, so I said the wrong thing.
About to another meeting between now and
No, I
Sunday.
meant just to answer that.
No.
When
Well,
did you
it
want to?
sounds like what you're saying is
You
we
want
really
to do it right
can't
away.
use that 15 days if we want to get on their schedule. So it's sooner than later is the way I
It would
interpret
have to
that.
be after next week.
So,
No, here.
Oh.
Unless you could do it before next week.
Okay, well, as far as having another select board meeting, do you think you can have Archie look at this tomorrow?
Yeah, I can find it.
And then we could call a special meeting for Friday.
Friday afternoon or
Yeah,
something.
I'll have him
Something would
read
take
it,
20 minutes.
and then we can contact you and.
Okay,
Okay.
and then we could do a
whatever.
quick special meeting just to review that item. But I have to, somebody's have to call me so I can get an agenda out
Right.
with Guy. All right, so I'm gonna leave that for you.
Yeah. I'll do
Okay,
that
so maybe a special meeting on Friday, May 6th.
6.
If that's all right with the select board, any
Yes.
time better than
Fine.
others?
Any-
That's what-
That's what you
Well,
want.
let me look at
Okay,
my
we'll see
calendar.
what Archie has to say.
You've
if
got
he
enough
wants to
on your
get-
plate. You do what you
Okay,
want.
all right,
I'm flexible.
anything else in that respect?
That's all we have.
Before we need to adjourn the meeting, I am going to remind everyone that at the beginning, I did add that we need to have an executive session this evening to discuss
Personnel issues at the town
employment,
office.
establishment of employment and contracts. And so there's a need at this time to evaluate the need to recent concerns of the position of the treasurer for a town. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session at this time. May I have a second?
Just that
Wait.
process.
Wait, motion of executive session at this time. The executive session can be held under the provision of Title I, Section 313A3 of Vermont statutes. No votes will be conducted while in executive session.
That's step number 2.
Okay, so what do I? do
Step
now?
number 1, the first motion is to find that premature public discussion of the subject would
Yes.
cause the municipality or person to suffer a substantial disadvantage. And it gives an example. So we would then say, whoever's
Well, you
gonna
can make the motion. Go ahead, you make
All
the
right.
motion.
I move to find that premature general public knowledge regarding the town's personnel situation in regard to a resignation, the appointment of someone, and law that's come to light that would put individuals in the town in an awkward scenario. So I therefore feel that it would be we decide that this is of a type of situation that requires us to make a decision prior to going into the executive session, that this qualifies as a situation that we deem to be of
That's a long
Sensitive.
motion.
yeah, you're right.
Sensitive nature.
It would be, okay, that it would be a substantial disadvantage to the town to not have a entry into executive session.
I second that motion.
Sweet.
Any discussion?
Negative.
Go ahead, Sandy, you can finish the,
Okay,
all those in favor?
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then the second motion is basically what you said.
All right, so the second motion is because there's a need to evaluate or discuss recent concerns with the position of the treasurer for the town. I make a motion that we now go into executive session based upon the provisions of Title I, Section 313A3 of the Vermont statute. No votes will be conducted while in executive session. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bruce. All those, any discussion? The discussion is, Peter, we'll have to contact you tomorrow with the end of the meeting time because we don't expect you or Josh to hang around.
Okay.
So all those in favor of entering into executive session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? All right, the public part of this meeting has been adjourned at 9:24. We'll have a 2-minute recess and then we will go into executive
That's
session.
good.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.